My name's Thomas Etzel. A recent PhD graduate from UT Austin. I graduated in 2020. Yeah, I guess I defended in the summer of 2020. So fresh off of that, I'm currently working for ExxonMobil. I'm a research geoscientist, and my role right now is basically to study the impacts of a process known as diagenesis. So I'm kind of trying to understand that a little more at depth. So it's something in geology that we tend to really critically think about. My research background while I was at UT actually is in geology, but I was working on a very different realm of geology. So where I'm working in the oil and gas sector right now, before I was working in what we call kind of global tectonics, higher pressure, temperature, metamorphism, studies of rocks. And so it's kind of orders of magnitude different than what the oil and gas world thinks about, and it's very much so more academic. And so a lot of the work I did there was really motivated by trying to answer some of those critical fundamental questions that academics tend to think about, but they really do translate eventually into other realms of the world of geoscience. My advisor came to me and she said, there's an opportunity through the Jackson School to have a graduate student work as a laboratory assistant in one of our analytical laboratories, and you seem to be the best qualified in terms of graduate students who are currently in the department, and you've shown the most interest in this analytical technique. So we were curious if you would like to take on that role as the graduate research assistant in that lab. And I was very happy to, because by that point I was starting to get pretty deep into my research, and teaching, while it is a rewarding experience, it is also quite time intensive and distracting from your research. So I was excited to get in this lab because a lot of the work I did for my research came through that lab. So went in as a graduate research assistant, and it was a standard GRA role. And there was a lab manager there, and I assisted him with kind of overseeing the equipment and running it. But it became a very interesting experience because partway through, the manager left UT, and we were sort of caught in a bind where we were in between a manager, and we're just basically in between managers, and there was a lot of internal discussion going on as to what to do with that position. So I somehow found myself as an interim lab manager. So I kind of went from a role that was giving me the ability to do more of my own research for my dissertation to suddenly running a lab for about 6 months. And that was a full-time plus job. That was, that was like a 50 hour a week sort of thing. But it was an incredible experience. I learned a lot from that, just beyond, how the instruments work, but I really learned a lot about how to run a business. Don't be afraid to say yes to an opportunity, and in fact, actively take on. If an opportunity presents itself, actively take it and see where it may lead you. And I think of one example where a professor came to me. He was a committee member, but it wasn't someone I interacted with very frequently. And he said, I'm leading a trip to Chile with a group of students who are interested in mining geology. And I had some bit of background in mine geology when I was at that point in my life. But I was not the focus of my research, and just a great opportunity. And I said, yeah. And it took me to the Atacama Desert, and it was caravanning with international students from all over the world for 2 weeks. And it was just an incredible experience, and it was really an eye-opening experience for me. That was my first real international experience in terms of geology, and that was a very, very pivotal moment for me. So just take advantage of the opportunities that present themselves was the best advice I got there. And what they are looking for is somebody who is productive. And so by showing that, okay, I think on my CV I said 5 most recent publications or 5 most recent paper abstracts and publications, and I just listed the 5 most recent and left it at that. And it opened the door for discussion and interview. So they said, oh, well, I noticed that some of your research was in this area of the world. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Or, here's your most recent publication. Can you talk a little bit about that? And what helped me was being prepared when I went into my interviews to anticipate that they're going to ask me about my research. So, I brought a couple copies of publications I had, as well as maybe recent abstracts and illustrations, figures, whatever, just to have on hand, because again, they don't have a background in what I did, but to have some material available for them, to show them some figures and some plots and some charts, and really just be able to communicate what it is I did at a very simplistic level and strike home that within a couple of years I was able to take on this project, publish, and pump it out, because productivity is a driver for business. And so being able to highlight that you've been productive through listing a couple of publications is useful. But yeah, you just have to pick and choose what you think is going to stand out, but also understand your audience. I was fortunate to have received a job offer before COVID. So that was something I didn't have to battle, but I have watched friends and colleagues go through the job search process during COVID, and it's, I can't speak from a firsthand I can't give firsthand advice, but from my perspective, you have to be dynamic, and you have to be willing to search outside of your comfort zone. So I've unfortunately had several colleagues here at Exxon who were recently let go for layoff purposes, and it was sad to see them go, and it was just an unfortunate reality of where we were at in our world because of COVID and everything going on. But I've been so impressed watching how they've really made career pivots, and they've recognized what skills they gained along the way, both in grad school, but as well as in employment. And many of them now are marketing themselves as more techie sort of people. That a lot of what we do in geoscience in this day and age really is computer science. It's kind of applied computer sciences, and they recognize the skill set they gained from in terms of coding or machine learning or whatever it may have been that they picked up. But they did start to pick that up during graduate school, and I've watched friends who are currently in grad school trying to graduate who have also started to recognize the skills that they picked up that they didn't recognize that were going to be more marketable. So just really take a step back and recognize what skills you possess that make you marketable, and don't be afraid to advertise them, and be honest. Say, hey, I have some background in coding, but I'm not an expert.